All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Yes, we would have started on time, but, my makeup and hair people were late, and it just really throws the entire organization into a tailspin.
What?
I know. It's outrageous. When I was at Fox, by the way, I was at Fox. I know that's a shocker to many people.
What?
Not at the Death Star Fox News Channel, but I worked at the Fox owned and operated station in Los Angeles for many, many years. I loved it there, and still love the people over there. But the reason I mention in the context of makeup is that our makeup guy was the makeup guy from the Bob Newhart show, the original Bob Newhart show, where he played a therapist, and he just had great stories. And he had way more projects than just that, but his dad did all the makeup for Planet of the Apes, the original movie.
Ooh, that's
and then
cool.
he was on the set doing that because they had to put makeup and prosthetics on all the extras in that film. So anyway, just speaking of makeup and hair. But, what a day it is. I know, everybody, you're anxious for all the salacious details. I will have Kim read them all from the Gaetz Report. It's going to be big. And Tony is here. Tony was busy trying to save the universe, which he sort of did.
Well, we found a workaround, and we're on the air.
Workaround. For
That's
some
what we got to
reason,
do,
the
man.
system, which we haven't touched, has rebelled against us. It's my birthday, and all I wanted was the Matt Gaetz Report, says Jay. Wow. Good to have set your sights on something attainable, Jay. Very, very good. Mark, I love your shirt, says Vicky, and this is the new Mark Thompson Show logo designed by Courtney, I think. And it is available at getmarkmerch.com in all kinds of colors, too. You don't have to go with this. You can go with a dark color or maybe a teal, sort of bright, optimistic color.
Nice.
Yeah. You can find it across all. Look at that. Red looks great. The red really pops also with our non-denominational holiday shirt. And I like the maroon a lot. Speaking of the non-denominational holiday thing, let me send this to Tony. Maybe he can put it up there. I had somebody angry at me, which...
That's always fun.
Yeah, people enjoy oh, hang on, Tony. I'm going to send you this, and you're going to post it for all the boys and girls to see how I wake up first thing in the morning and I get abuse of one sort or another. It's great. I look forward to it every day. So thanks, Tony, says Ren. Yeah, thank you, Ren, for recognizing Tony's importance.
Big shout out
in the organization. But Tony has to figure out how to make this thing work without us delaying the show, whatever it is, 20 minutes to get on the air. Happy early birthday, Mark, from Rory and Nancy at Romania Animal Rescue, Inc. Big shout out. And I thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for your $50 contribution to the program. I appreciate it quite substantially. It's a weird thing being on YouTube, It's the sad fact that we depend on Romania Animal Rescue, Inc. and Ren and everybody else who has jumped in and supports us with super stickers and super chats, and also really the Patreon and PayPal community. We have to sadly hustle for your support in order to stay on the air. And I will tell you something else, and then I'll read this, and then I'll mention this to you, something that just happened. Trevor Starr in Hollywood says, Mark, I wish you a happy Festivus, but since the airing of grievances is a common element of the show, I'll just say happy Monday. Yes, it is.
Shout out.
We do not need Festivus to air our grievances on this show. We
What?
absolutely... By the way, there is a what mug coming. So
nice.
Yes. So
What?
if you, this is the Mark Thompson Show. The new mugs are white, and we've had black for so long, and now we've. They're very, very pretty, and they're very. They're beautiful with the. Now, I'll tell you what I'm drinking today from Coachella Valley, and then I'll double back and tell you what I was going to tell you. I am going with the Colombia beans, and they are rich. I mean, riquísimo. You will love them. And if you like dark, rich, full, now I think it's a limited run. It's an exclusive kind of bean. So check them out. I mean, an exclusive kind of offer on the site there. I'm trying to get rid of this, Tony. See how that says that? I don't like that there. I don't know. The whole thing is...
We can get some gaffer tape for that.
Yeah, there we go. Figure out a way to
We're just going to slap tape on this thing and
keep the show on the air.
hope for the best.
The whole damn show.
Bubblegum and duct tape is holding this whole thing together. Let's just admit it.
Mr. Predicto, will we be able to get on the air cleanly on time tomorrow? I ask you, Mr. Predicto, please, now. Tomorrow's show, will it be on time?
Everything points to no.
Yes, there you go. Well, that is
Also, I'm not here tomorrow.
right on brand. Yeah, it's Albert here tomorrow instead of Tony. So you better explain to him what you did to make this happen. Yeah, I don't know.
Thanks, Tony.
Anyway.
I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah. What I was going to tell you is, we have these good months with YouTube and not as good months with YouTube with the income into the show. Sometimes we can really feel great about things, and sometimes it's a really lean period. And to be honest, right here at the end of the year, it's a really lean period. So we really appreciate all the support that you've given us. All of you who've been so very generous. All of you who are on Patreon and PayPal. Wow, you have helped this show so very much. So with that said, thank you. Here, as we kind of wrap up toward the end of the year, we wouldn't exist without you. So thank you very much.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So there's a lot going on. The Matt Gaetz Report, which I guess reads like a romance novel minus the romance. It is pretty damning. And he knew it would be damning. We knew it would be damning. Matt Gaetz pays thousands for drugs and sex. This is according to the House Ethics Report. And it would appear that some of that sex is with somebody who is underage.
a junior in high school,
17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Consumed illegal drugs. All of this while in office. Well, to be honest, I mean, that's when you're going to have the most access to this kind of thing, is when you're in office. So,
Part of the report says he allegedly created an email account to buy marijuana using his, while he's sitting there at his congressional desk.
Oh, he apparently, I mean, as you know, we reported it for you, and we had the audio from other members of the House who said that he literally would go up to them and go, hey, take a look at this girl, man. I'm hooking up with her. I'm hooking up with her. I'm hooking up with her and her at the same time. It's like really So, we'll get to the Gaetz Report, and I'm looking forward to sharing it. Hey, Ron Cook, thank you. How about a super chat and a special recognition for our pal Ron Cook?
Big shout out.
I want to wish a Merry Christmas to all our friends at the Mark Thompson Show. Yeah, thank you. And right back at you, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
Very generous with a $20 super chat this holiday season. We love it. The floodgates are opening, says Trevor. All right, without any further delay, but with just that kind of general headline, as anticipated, this Gaetz Report is damning. I mean, it would have been the kind of thing that would have likely, certainly produced a reprimand had he remained in Congress. And you might say, well, just a reprimand? What do you mean? I mean, isn't this all sort of lawlessness? And again, we'll get into some of the specifics in a second. I'll just remind you, the House sadly, very, very rarely expunges, gets rid of anybody in their body. I mean, you can do almost anything, and they really are reluctant to remove a member of their body. That said, this guy definitely was pushing the meter into the red zone, but he is no longer in Congress, which is, of course, what the controversy was about the report. Like, should it still be released, given the fact that he's not in Congress? In any case, it has been released now. And here is a little bit. Tony, go ahead, roll as the news breaks this morning.
According to you, this report's findings determine there is substantial evidence that Matt Gaetz had sex with a minor, engaged in rampant illicit drug use, and violated multiple state laws while in office. The report lists payments totaling more than $90,000 to 12 different women between 2017 to 2020 and alleges the money was likely connected to sexual activity and drugs, including cocaine and ecstasy. The committee also obtained testimony that alleges Gaetz had sex twice with a 17-year-old girl. The victim told the committee she recalled receiving $400 in cash from Gaetz, which she understood to be payment for sex. Gaetz is also accused of creating a fake email from his Capitol Hill office for the purpose of purchasing marijuana and referred to drugs as party favors, rolls, and vitamins. The report did not uncover sufficient evidence of violations of federal sex trafficking laws, and Gaetz has denied any improper conduct, writing last week that his behavior in his 30s may have been embarrassing, though not criminal. The former congressman refused to sit for sworn testimony, only submitting written answers to some of the committee's questions. The committee also alleged he knowingly and willfully sought to impede and obstruct the investigation. The House Ethics Committee had initially voted to keep the report under wraps after Gaetz resigned from Congress in November and withdrew as Trump's picks to be Attorney General, but they reversed that decision in a vote earlier this month. Adriana?
Scott,
yeah,
thank you.
there you have it. I mean, that was a very succinct summary of what was really prostitution, probably, I don't know if it's human trafficking per se, but it might be technically human trafficking adjacent. And, of course, the drugs and I mean, it sounds like pretty decadent. And honestly, and this, as usual, you may blanch at this or push back on me on this. I sort of don't care about a lot of the decadent stuff that this guy. Look, I think this guy is a reprehensible dude. I mean, please don't misunderstand me. He was, the guy in Congress who doggedly defended Donald Trump, and he was a smack talker, right? He's a blowtorch. And so for that reason, Trump sparked to him. That was why he was nominated for the Justice Department head. But I guess what I'm getting at is some of this stuff is like just what we do in this country. But this guy is running, meaning looking after somebody's sexual improprieties. That sort of cuts through. It's very tabloidy, and I'm not a fan. And as you know, I also sort of don't stand in judgment with people on these things. But when you add in underage women that you're paying for sex and you're trafficking, now I'm sorry, I can't be cool with it anymore. This guy is a public servant, and it seems as though the only public that he was serving was the Matt Gaetz Sex Fund, which he really seemed committed to building up. But it's not just that. You should know that, and I think it was mentioned perhaps by that reporter, that this report points to other areas of misconduct, like taking private jet travel that was gifted to him. The idea somehow that you're receiving gifts and then in exchange, you're producing or providing at least an audience to be heard on various legislative agenda type items. So these are things that now begin to get away from just the, ooh, we caught you having sex. That stuff doesn't interest me as much as some of the details of that, which involve a 17-year-old and payments. And then, of course, as I say, the idea that you're taking gifts in exchange for legislation. There is a trip in 2018 where this is in the Bahamas. Witnesses say he took ecstasy, had sex with 4 women. From 2017 to 2020, Gaetz made tens of thousands of dollars in payments to women that the committee determined were likely in connection with sexual activity and or drug use. Noted the report, payments totaling more than $90,000 to 12 different women. So in a way, this guy is either running or is part of some kind of prostitution ring that he's running out of Washington. And again, I mean, allegedly, and we don't know, this isn't a court case, but this is a pretty exhaustive investigation, and this is where they sit. And so when you get into something that is drenched in that kind of money and involving these sorts of people. I'm talking about the 17-year-olds and these young women. Again, even I, who have tried to kind of stand back on this and not stand in judgment right away, it's not in any way acceptable. And when it's a violation of ethics and law. And when you add in, as I say, sort of that pay-to-play thing, which is, I'll give you this gift, I'll give you this private air travel, et cetera, in return for these considerations of a legislative agenda item, now you're talking about another ethics violation. So this guy was really running amok in Congress.
So you might not be judgy that he spent $90,000 on hookers and blow, basically. But you know who is judgy? The Holy Rollers. And he's supposed to, Matt Gaetz, start a job at One America News, right?
That's right. He's going to be an anchor on One America News.
Are they so hypocritical that they'll just say, yeah, come on, we don't care. Come on, slide into that seat. Or will they stand in judgment as they do of everyone else? We'll see.
Yeah, it's...
I've never seen anything like it.
It does look like his role in media... Well, I'll put it this way. He may want to go for a cooling off period of some sort before he slides right into One American News.
Or maybe all it takes is, a good repentance,
I see. Yeah, good apology.
I found religion.
Well, I mean, you could go full
Jesus
Tubin.
is forgiving me.
Go for Tubin. Go. It was wrong.
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
There you go. Go full Tubin. Don't whoopee it. Don't try to, my bad. Don't do a my bad.
My bad.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, you
have
got to go
throw
full
God
Tubin.
in there. There has to be some God reference.
You're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, my transgressions are between me and my God.
There you
and
go.
I answer to no one else. That you're
you
right.
should be
That's
the PR
perfect.
guy. There you have it.
Speaking of God, Tony, did you get the piece? And I'll get back to Gaetz. We can talk more about Gaetz in a moment.
$90,000 on hookers and blow.
$90,000 on hookers and blow. Where is he getting his hookers and blow? Am I right, people? I mean, my God, there's got to be a better deal than that. Is that what people are paying now?
Thompson, party of four.
No, thank you. I'm passing on that party.
No.
I'm passing. We're Tony, I recall that speaking of the Lord, someone feels as though I've transgressed, and I want to. Mark, your sweatshirt is sad. That was the sweatshirt. It's the non-denominational. It's happy non-denominational holidays.
Yeah,
Tony,
celebrates everyone.
Show them the happy non-denominational holidays, if you would, please. Can you do that at the same time? I'm sorry, I'm throwing a lot of stuff at Tony, who's kept this show on the air right now, despite the challenges in the technical realm. But the happy non-denominational holidays shirt, there it is, has been very popular. You can see it there in the red, it's in green, it's in blue, and it's, whether you're a deep believer in the word of Jesus, and or if you're a deep believer in the words of worship of Hanukkah, maybe you're a deep believer in anything. I mean, there are hundreds of religions, and this is a time of year where we all come together, and that's why it's happy non-denominational holidays. In other words, whatever you support, whatever you're into, or if you're not into anything, well, just happy holidays in the spirit of the season.
Sure.
So that's the way we did it.
Yeah.
You can get one of these at getmarkmerch.com, and you can rock it all through the holiday season. And people have sent pictures, et cetera, and we'd love it if you do to send it along to us. And we will share pictures of you with the shirt. Happy non-denominational holidays. And there also are other things on the website at getmarkmerch.com. But now back to what I woke up to today. Mark, your sweatshirt is sad. The holiday is called Christmas for a reason. How will you explain your statement when you meet him face to face?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
I said, I spoke with him already, and he's actually cool with it. Yeah. He's so much cooler than you said he'd be, Mary. You have this view of him that he's not cool. My view of Jesus is that he's super cool. He's actually much cooler than all of you out there. And he is a big supporter and a big fan. So thank you for pointing it out and trying to protect I understand you're trying to protect the brand of Christmas. I get it. But what I'm suggesting is that why not kick the door open, as Jesus would have, to Christmas and all of the wonder and wonderment and warmth of the season, regardless of whether people are actually wedded to the word or not. So that's my message to you this holiday. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Sermon at 4 o'clock.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. Mark, the holiday is called Xmas for a reason. Okay. God played the dude in The Big Lebowski. My Jesus is cool, says commentator. Exactly. Jesus is cool. Inclusive celebrations. Yeah. That's what we're all about. On the Gaetz stuff, it is indeed the case that there is a lot here that's quite disturbing. I don't know what his future is, but it is, here it is. Dave says, remember the cocaine in the Biden White House scandal? The Gaetz Report puts a little different spin on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it was Gaetz's drugs stashed in the what was it, the cubby hole at the White House?
That's right. Yeah, we never did really get, that was the big thing. We didn't really sort of get a chain of ownership on the cocaine that was discovered. But the woman who spoke to the committee, and they spoke to women, multiple women who were involved in sexual encounters with Gaetz. One woman told the committee the use of drugs at the parties and events they attended may have impaired their ability to really know what was going on or fully consent. Another woman told the committee, when I look back on certain moments, I do feel violated. The report also found substantial evidence that Gaetz engaged in rampant illicit drug use. It obtained text messages in which he referred to drugs, as was noted in that report, as party favors, rolls, or vitamins. It also said he created a fake email from his Capitol Hill office, as we noted as well. You know, it's interesting to me, just as an aside, in movies and in television, when they're dealing with moving drugs across various things, you're dealing with some kind of narco operation and somebody's undercover and they're kind of busted or whatever, they still have to spell out exactly for the audience what's happening. So they go, so you're going to move the cocaine tonight at midnight, right? And it's just not the way the drug people would talk. So they would talk like Matt Gaetz talked, right? They would say, so the vitamins look like they're going to be coming in on, you know what I mean? They would use codes for I always think it's funny that they don't use those codes, though, in the world of television and motion picture depictions of major drug organizations, because the audience has to have it made excruciatingly clear what's happening. So you're going to put all of the illegal drugs in the truck for tonight and for departure at 9 o'clock tonight. The cocaine, the heroin, you're going to have it all. The fentanyl, you know, they don't ever use the codes. But Gaetz did use the codes. And he's just kind of trying to write it off as youthful exuberance, you know. I dated several of these women for years, he says. It's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in my life. I live a different life now, he says.
Oh, a life of God.
Yeah, apparently. He's back to the Lord. He's found God. You know, you can't find God at those parties, Kim. You cannot. Because you're busy doing bumps and, you know, trying to hook up.
Maybe if you did some acid instead of some blow. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta be
you have to take the right substance to find God, right?
Yeah. Pablo Escobar should be Trump's drug czar, says a Nullifidian. Yeah.
Meanwhile, this guy is representing people in Congress. He's doing the business of the United States.
Well, he's talking about a return to Congress, not in the House, but as a senator. He is, I know, that would be one of the great political reversals of fortune that might rival Donald Trump. Trump, to me, is the greatest reversal of political fortune of our lives. I mean, this guy was done. And then he reconstituted himself on the outside. He came at the election with the same stuff. He played all the same hits that he did the first time. The border, this is the worst situation ever. Look at our cities. Look at our You know, look at whatever. This is the worst ever. Look at the economy. And he tied in and linked into people's general cynicism, and he was able to reascend to the presidency. I mean, again, I have some questions about the election, but okay, it's done. Anyway, the idea somehow that Gaetz could somehow reconstitute himself after this damning report, it will be extraordinary. But again, in the new America where crazy things happen, perhaps it's possible. All you need is that blowtorch of the propaganda machine of Fox News Channel, and that gets it out there. Then you help seed it with social media, and you can help turn things around. That was what worked for Donald Trump, and that's what might work for Matt Gaetz. But the report is pretty ugly. Rich guy parties would be nothing without gals that want to go to rich guy parties, would they? Vic is right about that. I mean, you know. Anyway, Matt Gaetz is Epstein light, says Silicon Valley blocks. Yeah. Gaetz is the gutter, says Gordon. And of course, Merrick Garland couldn't detect a crime. Exactly. Merrick Garland, what I said it at the time when they chose Merrick Garland. I don't. This is not the kind of guy you want there as Attorney General. But all right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Meantime, on the other side of town, more and more talk that Elon Musk is your real president. Elon Musk gets what he wants. Elon Musk is the guy with his sidekick, Vivek Ramaswamy. They are making policy in Washington when it comes to shaking out a lot of those things that are associated with the fat of Washington. There is a lot of fat in Washington, but there's also supposed to be some fat in Washington. Not everything is run like a business in Washington. We're a country that takes care of its citizens. For that reason, not everything pencils out so that you make money on it. And so the idea somehow that you could just go in and in a week find all of these different areas in which you can cut is on some level sort of laughable. On another level, you may say, well, if he starts with the Pentagon, Musk and Vivek, then I'm behind him. And you know what? He might get to the Pentagon. So far, he hasn't. But what he has done, Elon Musk anyway, is kept himself in a high enough profile position and made demands publicly that then Trump signs on to hours later. That was the case with the continuing resolution. And that makes you think Elon Musk is leading this parade, not Donald Trump. So Donald Trump responded to that, didn't he, Kim? He's saying, listen, Elon is not taking the presidency. This is what he said at the Turning Point USA America Fest conference in Phoenix over the weekend.
But you can tell that he even had to respond to it. It's kind of getting under his skin a little bit.
I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of wants to be the number one guy. And the number one guy is really a super rich dude who has a lot of contracts with the U.S. government, which means, by the way, that he is, it means that he is a creature with a lot of leverage. I mean, we can see Musk as this cartoonish guy, but he is so embedded now in the U.S. government that he has more leverage than just sort of the leverage of personality. So this may be a question of who's in the limelight and how much press you're getting, Elon, versus me, Donald Trump. I mean, that might be playing out on some level in Donald Trump's mind. But on another level, he has to handle Elon Musk with kid gloves, or at least with some concern for the number of things that Elon Musk has to do with U.S. government, SpaceX among them. You know, we detailed for you last week how SpaceX is on track for everything from launching satellites and communication satellites to rescuing astronauts who are on that International Space Station for months longer than they had originally planned. So you can't just jerk this dog back to the curb. You have to handle it with a degree of deftness that Donald Trump may or may not have. But he is commenting on it now. And he is saying that, do we have the cut? I know we have all of his remarks. We may watch a bit of what Trump said. But Trump said, they're on a new kick. All the different hoaxes. The new one is that President Trump has ceded the presidency to Elon Musk. No, that's not happening. He then added that Musk couldn't even be president because he wasn't born in America. He was born in South Africa. Dude, they're not saying that he's literally going to become president. They're saying that he's effectively president. Go ahead.
He's the shadow president.
President Trump has ceded the presidency to Elon Musk. No, that's not happening.
Yeah. But as Kim has noted, it's got to bother him a little that he has to respond to this as much as he does.
Well, it's an ego thing with him, right?
Exactly.
And the more you say it, the more annoyed he gets and the more, shaky he gets. I don't know, pardon me, if it damages the relationship between Musk and Trump at all. Probably not. But I kind of like that he's having to address it.
Well, and the Democrats are really riding that. And again, I'll mention, he has huge companies with huge contracts with the U.S., not just SpaceX, the Boring Company, and even Tesla has a relationship with the U.S. government. But the Democrats are riding this because they feel as though it's rideable. And is it Dan Goldman out of New York was saying that we need to face the reality. Right now we have President Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Maybe he's vice president. I guess vice presidents don't do much, so that makes sense. He might be the chief of staff. He defended RFK Jr. in this talk, Donald Trump did, who is up for HHS, as you know. He said he would let Kennedy look for links between vaccines and autism, an unfounded conspiracy theory that Kennedy has touted for years. Together, he says, this is a quote, "We're going to make America healthy again. Something bad is happening." Well, if you want to see something bad happening, look at your lunch, Donald Trump. The fried chicken and the Big Mac with cheese. That is one of the reasons that we are not healthy, what we put in our mouths. So the idea that you're going to make America healthy again by getting rid of some vaccine, I think that's laughable. Now, there are additives and there are essentially poisons that are added into the American diet that should be eliminated. Those are regulations. I hope you're okay with that. Again, I call them protections, but, they fall into the regulation category that Trump is so down on. I believe government without it would permit any number of ways in which you could toxify the environment. When it comes to soil, air, water, and the toxification, the only thing preventing industry from the toxification of all three, air, soil, and water, the only thing preventing that toxification is government regulation. You must have protections. That's the reason there are regulatory agencies dedicated to watching that degree of poison that we actually permit in our food supply. So all I would say, again, in summary, is on the RFK Jr. issue, there is part of what RFK Jr.'s agenda is stated to be that one can spark to. It's get these toxins out of our food supply. But good luck taking on big food. And big ag. These are the biggest lobbies in Washington, among them. And so there are a lot of businesses that are going to take issue and push back on RFK Jr. in that regard. So he may or may not make any progress on that. And the fact that he's made the vaccine protocol a top priority is odd, given the fact that vaccines have been so very effective in extending life for the most part. And certainly I would take a meeting on any of these things when it comes to what vaccines actually do, side effects. You have to look at the degree of side effects, the percentage of side effects, the percentage of a population that is given a vaccine that actually manifests side effects. These are all things you do need to pay attention to. But on another level, you also have to pay attention to the way in which vaccines have been a transformative force for positive in the history of mankind. I mean, it's a remarkable, a miracle that science is able to address so many of these diseases. And I think that sort of focusing on a link between this or that vaccine and autism may obscure that on some level.
Did you see that he also talked about, he talked about Hannibal Lecter again, so that's not over. And he said that the United States might take back the Panama Canal.
I did see that.
Like what?
Yeah, that was an odd thing. I will get to that. It is, there's nothing more wonderful than hearing about those things that we're going to take back. Greenland, the Panama Canal. I don't know exactly. We were going to trade Puerto Rico for Greenland. Remember, that was one of the things he wanted to do during his first administration.
Sure.
So he's got a lot of stuff out ahead of him. Do you want to needle drop a little bit of what he said at this, Tony? The speech is there in its entirety, but maybe we can just needle drop a little bit of it, if you wouldn't mind. It's there in the rundown. And then we can move on. I have some stuff out of the world of Joe Biden, and I have Fetterman as well. But here is a Trump. He, again, spoke to them. Remember, these are hard right-wing turning point people who are there listening to his speech. Go ahead, Tony, if you would, please.
And rapid deployment of the Navy from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. It's an incredible thing. And drastically cut shipping times down to U.S. ports by days and even weeks.
This is Panama.
The United States is the #1 user of the Panama Canal, with over 72% of all transits heading to or from U.S. ports. Think of that. So we built it. We're the ones that use it. They gave it away. Considered one of the one of the great wonders of the world. The Panama Canal opened for business 110 years ago and was built at huge cost to the United States, and it really is big when you consider the lives and the treasure, the equivalent of $1.2 trillion today. You don't hear those numbers. 38,000 American men, almost all men, they went there to be construction workers and dig. They were diggers, and they were brave. 38,000 men died from infected mosquitoes in the jungles of Panama during the construction period. Think of that. We lost 38,000 men. Teddy Roosevelt was president of the United States at the time of its building and understood the strength of naval power and trade. When President Jimmy Carter foolishly gave it away for $1. During his term in office, it was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there? China. It was likewise not given for Panama to charge the United States, its Navy, and its corporations doing business within our country exorbitant prices and rates of passage, which they do. They charge us like it's a disgrace.
Yeah, it's a
Our
disgrace.
Navy and Commerce have been treated in a very unfair and
so he doesn't know
injudicious way.
Yeah.
The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama, I say very foolishly, by the United States.
Yeah, right.
This complete ripoff of our country will immediately stop. It's going to stop.
Okay. Thank you. This is the mobster who has moved into the White House, and he's going to lean on a lot of allies. In other words, why can't I lean first on those that don't really have any beef with the United States? Again, the Panama Canal was a terrific breakthrough in shipping so that you could cut through, the Atlantic-Pacific link that way without having to go around the southern tip of South America. And it did require all of this work and all of these people involved in building it. And, it's actually... I don't know, the ownership of Panama is probably something that one could, if you really want to get back, and when he talks about taking back, the Spanish colonized Panama, and that's if you, and again, as they did much of South America, Latin America. I mean, you can go back and you talk about taking it back. We're way past taking it back, and the canal doesn't entitle us to go grab it. We made a deal with the Panamanians and government. Panama is charging market prices like our rents, Trump. So STFU, right. So the U.S. got rights to build and administer the canal, and that was part of a deal that was forged, and that deal was beneficial to America as well. I mean, I'm stopping here in the middle just to say it's crazy that we have to even talk about this stuff. He's going to get what he is looking for with all these enemies he is making. I didn't hear yeah, it's exactly right. What if we grab Spain too? Exactly. I mean, it's, thank you. The idea somehow that he could focus on this is interesting to me. I'm like wondering how he got this into his head. This is the Trump of the first 4 years, where somebody says something to him in the hallway, or some businessman mentions this to him at a dinner where there's shipping magnates there at Mar-a-Lago. And what does he do? He incorporates it into his jihad. And so he then pitches it and in front of his friendly crowd. And this is a crowd that is just really loaded for bear. They want to join a battle. And so you end up with this ridiculousness about the Panama Canal. And, you talk about we built this thing. U.S. construction, here you go, was largely carried out by Afro-Panamanian and Caribbean workers, over 5,000 of whom died before the canal finally opened in 1914. So we used close to indigenous labor to make this happen. And we did get the contract to do it, right? That was something that was hammered out. The U.S. got rights to build and indefinitely administer the canal. The U.S. paid Panama $10 million, later a $250,000 annual fee for the rights. Many Panamanians condemned the treaty as an infringement on their newfound sovereignty. But there have been tensions around the Panama Canal as well. And, the Suez Canal, these major shipping passages have all been beset at one point or another with some controversies. So the other thing I'll just mention about the Panama Canal is there is a crisis there that we've talked about on this show, and it has nothing to do with ownership. It has to do with water, because the Panama Canal is being affected by climate change and the radical way in which there is less water to actually bring that canal through and to link these two bodies of water. Isn't that right, Kim? I mean, there's been a serious controversy. We showed you pictures of the fact that they weren't able to get enough water to bring these ships through. So even as they, with increasing droughts.
That's a good picture.
There it is. Thank you. The drought is slowing transit through the Panama Canal. Climate change contributing to the increasing droughts, water levels dropping. And so when you talk about Panama and the Panama Canal, that's the crisis that faces the Panama Canal and much of the developed world that uses that passage for shipping. What are the Panamanians saying about Donald Trump's threat? Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino rejecting Trump's threat. He said the canal's tariffs were carefully and transparently evaluated, and that these maintain the canal and help expand it in 2016, boosting traffic and global trade. Quote, every square meter of the Panama Canal and its surrounding area belongs to Panama and will continue to do so. Our country's sovereignty and independence are not negotiable. The canal is not under any direct or indirect control from China, the European community, or the United States, or any other power, he says. And that's the other thing that Trump does. He makes up the China thing and these elements, and he gets us talking about this stuff. He opens wounds needlessly. Thank you, Frank. That's actually a great way to say it. He opens wounds where there aren't any. He creates wounds or opens old ones. But he then dominates the news cycle this way for yet another day. But that's the word on the Panama Canal and a little bit of what he said. What a surprise. Trump is lying about the Panama Canal, and if we take it over again, it'll be another huge cash drain like the Mexico Wall. Yeah, thank you. I mean, he has his hands full with what was the concentration of a lot of his remarks at Mar-a-Lago, mainly immigration. He was peacocking about immigration. We're going to start right away with the largest deportation of illegal immigrants in the history of this country. That's what he was saying over the weekend. So that's the reality of the President Trump term, which begins in a terribly short time. As for the current president, Joe Biden,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have word about Joe Biden. He has commuted the sentences of 37 federal death row prisoners, making it likely that Donald Trump won't be able to add to the 13 executions carried out during President Trump's first term. Only 3 notorious mass murderers were left unspared. Robert Bowers, who killed 11 at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life Synagogue. Dylan Roof, perpetrator of the 2015 Mother Emanuel AME church killings in Charleston, South Carolina. And Dzhokhar Sarnev, he's the 2013 Boston Marathon bomber. Those 3 not getting commutations. The others will be imprisoned for life without the possibility of parole. And Biden's statement, quote, "Make no mistake, I condemn these murderers, grieve for the victims of their despicable acts, and ache for all the families who have suffered unimaginable and irreparable loss. But, guided by my conscience and my experience, I am more convinced than ever that we must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level." And so he commutes the sentences of 37 federal death row prisoners. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Democratic Party,
The Mark Thompson Show.
John Fetterman is saying, guys, just chill out a little bit.
He thinks everyone's stressing out. Like, chill out.
Yeah. John Fetterman downplaying the drama that Donald Trump's second term could bring. Yeah, really. You guys misunderstand. No need to, quote, freak out. He was on This Week, this past weekend, and he said that he thinks many of his peers' hand-wringing about Trump has been counterproductive. I've been warning people, like, you got to chill out, like the constant, freak out. It's not helpful. Pack a lunch, pace yourself, because he hasn't even taken office yet, says John Fetterman. There he is. If you're rooting against the president, you are rooting against the nation, he said. I'm not ever going to be where I want a president to fail. Well, let me just stop to say, I'll be in a place where I want the president to fail if the agenda of the president is a bad agenda.
Norm writes, Fetterman will switch to the GOP at a certain point. Do you think there's any merit to that? Could you see that happening?
I could not. I could not see that happening. I think the Democrats need a John Fetterman type figure, someone who really reads working class, also isn't afraid to say what he thinks, although, again, you don't have to agree with everything he thinks, but he's not constantly walking things back because, oh, my God, there are members of my constituency on the left, or there are members of my my political allies and the caucus of political allies on the left that think that I'm being too coarse in my description, or he doesn't walk any of that stuff back. He's a bit more alpha male that way, and I honestly think the electorate responds well to that. So he called Trump a singular political talent. And I'll tell you, I agree with him. I know I've said this before, and everybody hates on me when I say it, but Trump is a singular political talent. He employs despicable ways in which that talent is displayed. You know, the mockery of those with physical handicaps or challenges of one sort or another, making up out of whole cloth narratives involving illegal immigrants, and he goes after the trans community in this gratuitous and cruel way. That is really, though, what the GOP has picked up as the way they want to go. And he is charismatic. There is something about Trump that is charismatic, even entertaining. The Democrats don't have someone like that. And so it's interesting that Fetterman, who I think is in a way closest to that in terms of his political talent, he reads, again, like an everyman. And he speaks in sort of an across-the-fence style. It's interesting to hear him comment on Trump. Now, again, Fetterman, I think, because he's been open about his struggles with depression and other sort of challenges psychologically, not to mention his stroke. I mean, he's not a viable top-of-ticket candidate, but I do listen to what he says with some interest. Hey, Tony, can you play a little bit of it? I mean, I just noticed that it's there. Yeah, here's a little John Fetterman talking about Trump.
You never know. But what I am is I'm just a regular Democrat. I'm not leaving my party. But I'm not sure why some of the things that I've chosen to do, like meeting with nominees and having views that might be more aligned with some of the Republican side, I think that's part of politics. And that's pretty much consistent with just doing the job and representing the kind of state that we have in Pennsylvania.
Looking forward, what are you most optimistic about with a Trump presidency, and what do you fear?
Well, it's like I've been warning people, like, you got to chill out, you know, like the constant, freak out. It's not helpful. So, pack a lunch, pace yourself, because he hasn't even taken office yet.
Do you think he has the potential to be a successful and a good president?
I hope, because I'm not rooting against him. If you're rooting against the president, you are rooting against the nation. And I'm not ever going to be where I want a president to fail. So country first. I know it's become maybe like a cliche, but it happens to be true.
What was the single biggest factor behind Kamala Harris and Democrats losing in November?
You have a singular political talent. It's undeniable.
Trump.
He had the energy and almost a sense of fearlessness to just say all those kinds of things. And people, it's undeniable that it has an entertaining aspect for that too. And just, if you're not afraid to say all of those things, and after you survived an assassination, you literally were shot in your head, yeah, and had the presence of mind to respond, fight, fight, fight. I mean, that's a political talent. It's undeniable. And also, I never believed that it was about fascism. And for me, that made it difficult for
Kamala Harris said that he was a fascist.
Yeah, well, it's like that's her prerogative. I mean, but it's not a word that I would use, because you put a lot of Democrats, especially in my state, that I know, and I happen to love people that are going to vote for Trump, and they are not fascists. And also, fascism, that's not a word that regular people, use. That, I think people are going to decide who is the candidate that's going to protect and project, my version of the American way of life, and that's what happened.
I think it's interesting. Again, I've kind of already commented on this, but I just think it is interesting always when we, 2 points, my president right or wrong is kind of what he's saying when he supports the president right now. I mean, the incoming president. And I just think that's a flawed, it's a flawed philosophy. It's a flawed way, and it's a flawed perspective and way to view the world. So you have to speak out against those things that you think are wrong. You can't sort of have the view just because they came from the Oval Office that you support them. I understand not freaking out. I get that. Take it battle by battle. But if there's a battle to be had, you've got to fight it. Just because it came out of Trump's world, you can't sort of think, well, give him a chance. Let's see how this Panama Canal thing plays out. Let's give him a chance. Let's see how this mass deportation thing plays out. Give him a chance. Let's see how the fill in the blank works out. You just can't do it. Let's see how the prosecution of Liz Cheney works out. I mean, So again, I get the general idea of not rising to every battle, because sometimes these things are just utterances that Trump lets go, like this weekend about the Panama Canal. But sometimes he'll follow up, and if you really get into a squaring off with the Panamanians over the canal and control, it's a mess. And you won't be able to succeed in any kind of way that will be enduring and positive.
Can you help me think something through here? Because I have agreed in the past with the statement that if you're rooting against the president, that you're rooting for America to not succeed. But in this particular case, it seems to me, and perhaps I'm wrong, correct me if this is not the case, but it doesn't, and it hasn't seemed to me like Trump has been putting America first anyway. It seems to me like Trump puts Trump's own self-interests first. If you had a president, regardless of whether we disagreed on some issues, that I felt really loved America, was working on behalf of America, then perhaps Fetterman would be correct. But in this case, I don't necessarily think Trump's working on behalf of America. I think Trump is working on behalf of Trump and his best friends with lots of money.
Yeah, I will take that in two ways. One is sort of I agree with you on the specifics of Donald Trump and what his agenda is. Of course, that's true. But the second, I would sort of take issue with the whole thing, which is sort of, I take issue with it. I mean, I think you can argue, well, either you're supporting the president or you're not. The idea, what you're basically saying is, I'll support the president when the president reflects values and an agenda that I respect. And I think that's a fair way to look at it. That's the way I look at it.
Well,
like,
no,
don't tell me.
I'm not even saying like we could have different values, but if you love America, if you put the country first, even if you don't necessarily, I don't agree with the things that you want the country to stand for, but you clearly love America. But I've never felt that from Trump, is what I'm saying. Well, I
mean, that's a judgment thing. I don't know about that. Like, I can go around and say, I think this person loves America, that person loves America, that person loves America more than that person. I mean, that whole how much do you love America thing? What, I'm a better Christian than you are. I always hate that argument. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's not as good a Christian as the other guy.
But if you're rooting against someone who isn't really out for the country's best interest, then you really are rooting for America to succeed. I know the patriotism is getting to you, but yes.
But you're the arbiter, in this case, Kim, of what's the best interest. I mean, the GOP would say, yeah, that's a typical lib position, which is you guys don't like our agenda, which is deport all these illegals and get, God back in the classroom and get this country back onto a straight and narrow. That's really what America is. And I love America enough to say it, but you libs, all you can say is, oh, he doesn't even seem like he likes America. Well, okay, your vision of America and my vision of America are different. That's what they have. I mean, they are, look at the Supreme Court. They are jihadists. They are absolutely committed to transforming America. I think it's a Christo-fascist effort that is now coming to fruition. I don't know how far down the way they'll get, but they'll get 10 Commandments, Bible literature, all of these things that are associated with organized religion. They're getting it into public schools. And so this, again, I would say is un-American, right?
Totally.
But they would say, no, that's the real America. We're trying to actually get this country back to some values. That's what they would say. And by the way, I don't consider their argument in any way valid, but I'm just saying that's out there when you get into the, the question as to who. This is interesting. Just Give Me the Truth says, I don't think he means support everything Trump does. He means respect the office until it demands real criticism. Okay, distinction maybe in search of a difference, although I take your point. But again, respect for the office is not just automatic. I understand that you want to treat these institutions with a reverence. But what I also say to you is, when these guys come in and they don't respect the institutions with a reverence, they don't show any reverence toward those institutions. Trump didn't go to the inauguration in 2020 of Joe Biden. I guess the inauguration was actually in 2021. But you get my point. He didn't go. He actually was in the shadow of an attempted coup. I mean, that is someone who does not respect American institutions.
Yeah.
Concocted fake electors in a fake elector scheme to hang on to power? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And you want me to, though, to respect the office of the president because he is the president now. Again, I'm not disrespecting the office. I'm demanding from the office some of what you're talking about or implying, all of you who say that the presidency requires a degree of respect. I'm demanding that respect be reciprocal. Care about those institutions that you're supposed to reflect as president of the United States.
When you talk about going against the Constitution, the separation of church and state, denying someone in the chat talking about him wanting to get rid of same-sex marriage and all these things, when you talk about taking rights away from people and going against the Constitution, basically not caring about the Constitution, I think that's un-American. And so in this case, rooting for him to fail is rooting for America to succeed, in my book. And yes, you're right. I am being the arbiter of what is American and what is un-American in this case. But it just seems so clear to me that if you're for the Constitution, you would be for him to fail.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You're finding different things, and I don't disagree necessarily with the things that you found to kind of wedge in there to point out, hey, he's not for the Constitution, he's not for this, he's not for that, and that makes him someone who I can root against. Randy is saying, I'm just hoping Trump can't accomplish all or anything that he wants to do. Wanting Trump to fail badly in office probably means the U.S. economy is headed for recession or something. It is true that I think it would be hard to conceive of a scenario whereby Trump did poorly because, you've rooted against him, but somehow America flourishes because his plans are fairly aggressive on the economy. He loves tariffs. Those are inflationary. And he kind of wants to get into a trade war, even with those countries that we are not really on an adversarial footing with. So this is I think there could be interesting and disturbing times ahead that way. But when it comes to rooting, there's that as well. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
I also wanted to just rise above, Mark, is what Julie says. Rise above, people. Rise above. Merry non-denominational Christmas, says Linda. What's up, Linda?
There you go.
Big shout out to Linda.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Linda Galdieri, thank you for your support and a $20 super chat. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Lee Kopp says, here's a Festivus 20 for you from Eileen and me. Lee Kopp, big shout out.
Big shout out.
An original G, baby. Yeah, OG. Vivian Alshawa, sorry to miss the meetup. Vivian Alshawa, we missed you.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. You are also an OG. And there were a lot of great people at the meeting, but we definitely missed you, Vivian. We had Tom Cook with a $1 super sticker. Thanks, Tom.
Big shout out.
And Gregory says, Mark, please ask one of your guests who has standing to bring a suit to keep the two-time adjudicated insurrectionist from taking the oath of office. If we have no respect for the Constitution, what gives, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you, Gregory. It's a
big shout out.
not disagree that this is a guy who's looking for ways around the Constitution. And so the problem is you have to find, if you're talking about standing, you're implying sort of legal standing, you'd have to find a court in which you could bring this charge. The insurrectionist, and when you say a two-time adjudicated insurrectionist, actually, we know he was an insurrectionist. I mean, the plot was laid bare, the witnesses were deposed, and it was all really clear that there was insurrection and coup that was hatched by Trump and his team. But if you, just to respond seriously to your notion, you need a court to bring that, and it wasn't adjudicated. I mean, it just wasn't. It's one of the things that's awaiting final adjudication, and I doubt that it will ever be adjudicated. It will ever be, because of just who he is and where we are. And adjudication would be a ding word. Trevor Starr in Hollywood, as I mentioned at the meetup. Mark, I apologize for my poor audio at the meetup. We're in the process of moving, not out of L.A., and I had to slap together a setup of older equipment at the last moment and couldn't monitor output. Well, I mean, that's a...
What?
That's a... Well, Trevor, it cut me to the quick, and your audio wasn't. You of all people. Mark, as I mentioned at the meetup, I can't take 4 more years of listening to everything Trump says, so I won't be grabbing Trump drops unless it's unavoidable. Or, of course, if you request one. Well, thank you. I don't disagree, and thank you for the super chat. Trevor, you're a great supporter of the show. I don't know what we'll do in terms of Trump drops. We'll try to be...
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I like once in a while a Trump drop. There's a quality to Trump. Thank you. Yeah, Gordon, over 80,000 subscribers. Wow, yeah, it's really great to see everybody come on board. But, as is pointed out to me, it's terrific that the channel has grown. We need to continue to grow it in order to get revenue in, because, as you know, subscribers don't necessarily bring revenue. So I hate to say it, but I just got to pay everybody, and the only way to pay everybody is to get revenue. So I always hate to have to hustle that way. But, yeah, I'm delighted by the growth of the channel, and I just hope I can make all of these other things that come with that work into the new year. I'm so glad you mentioned this. Rickey Henderson passed away over the weekend, 65 years old. He died from something related to pneumonia. Listen, Rickey Henderson was a terrific fixture in baseball and in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where this show was birthed. He played for the Oakland A's and was a remarkable baseball player from the standpoint of his ability to get on base and his ability to steal bases. He is truly a legend. And I wanted to, there's a great quote about Rickey Henderson. He stayed in the community after he left baseball, which is really something else I respect enormously. And let me see if I can find you this quick quote about, maybe you have some other details about Rickey Henderson while I look for this quote, Kim. But I was so surprised, honestly, that he died so young.
I have a friend who was one of the first female sports anchors in the Bay Area. She worked for ABC7, and she tells the story about being sent to cover some baseball related game, and she got stuck in an elevator with Rickey Henderson because the station had set them up in the same hotel the A's were staying in, and they were in there for quite a while together. And she said he was just like the nicest person, and that every single time after that she saw him at a game, or that maybe he wasn't talking to the press, he'd always talk to her because they had this shared bond about being stuck in that elevator together.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's really great. And he was, as I say, after baseball, active in the community. He was really one of those guys who was a terrific connection to the community of Oakland. And when he was, here's the Hall of Fame obit of Rickey Henderson, the Baseball Hall of Fame. This is from his teammate, Mitchell Page, on the Athletics. This is a quote. it wasn't until I saw Rickey that I understood what baseball was about. Rickey Henderson is a run, man. That's it. When you see Rickey Henderson, I don't care when the score, when. When you see Rickey Henderson, I don't care when. The score's already 1-0. If he's with you, that's great. If he's not, you're not going to like it. And that's how brilliant he was as a base runner and an all-time great player. And so it is a sad, sad loss at age 65, deteriorating health apparently. And so he passes away much sooner than he should. And we will miss him. Thank you for pointing that out, Randy. That's Rickey Henderson, passes away at 65.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, we started late today because we have a technical issue that we're still dealing with on some level, but it's so great to have you all here. Radcliffe, thank you for a super sticker for $5. I appreciate it. And all of you who are
big shout out
supporters of the show. I thank you. Jim Slayton says, I also apologize for my audio on the meetup. Wow, it's an apology.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
It seems like everybody. Everybody's rushing in to apologize.
I misspoke.
Okay, I also apologize for my audio on the meetup, says Jim. I had to install Zoom and then learn it while the video chat was going. I don't think I had my microphone on. Oh, I don't remember if you had your microphone on or not, but I... remember you in the chat. Yeah, I see. We'll get to our guest in a second. We've got a really cool guest for you today, and it'll really kind of change it up since we've done so much politics today. Extra Line says, can't Fetterman cover his legs during an adult interview? There are better-looking sweatshirts and pullovers that would meet his needs. Yeah, come on. I mean,
good day, sir.
Exactly. Wow.
The problem with him in his casual dress is that you see, even when in the chat, when we're watching the video of Fetterman, everyone's commenting on his outfit. So his outfit then becomes the distraction. And that's not what you want people talking about. You want people listening to the substance of what you're saying.
Well, let me just play the other side, which is the outfit that he's wearing speaks more to a lot of people than the coat and tie crap that, again, people feel in other words, they're used to seeing it, but on some level, they just see a talking head. Again, we may find it annoying or different or disrespectful, but the reality is that does spark for many people as something that is authentic and real. I don't have a problem with this outfit. So, but I get it. I mean, hey, throw on a pair of pants, man. Come on, it's a national interview. I mean, I also understand that, so I can't disagree completely with it. Great meetup Saturday, says B.O. Thanks for sharing your guests and some of your own after-hours time. P.S. Keep an eye on Michael Shore so you become the next Wally Pipp. Yeah, exactly. Michael Shore will be the guy who takes over this show. Michael's coming up in a fill-in capacity, I think, in a couple of weeks. I'm rooting for America during the coming Trump administration. That is a great comment, Vilma. I'm not rooting for him. I'm not rooting against him. Right. I'm rooting for the country.
That's right.
During the next administration. I love that take. Vilma.
Perfect. Vilma rocks.
Now you see why we needed a Vilma in the chat. We had a great meetup. It was really well attended, and it was a lot of fun. And we did something a little different. We kind of just played the chat and played the conversation the way it was going. So we didn't go around to each and every person and go, tell us about you, because a lot of those people we know. They're part of our community. They've gone to other meetups. And so it was great to be able to kind of move on from that to, how are you doing? What's going on? And, some people we were seeing for the first time, we try to get to know them a little bit. But I really just like sort of the organic way that everything proceeded. It was really quite special. So all of you who helped make that happen, I really appreciate it. And we'll do another meetup soon. That one was requested by the community. Aren't you going to do a holiday meetup? So that's the reason we did it. So I did have a quick chunk of, gosh, I don't know what to do. I want to get our guest on. I did have a quick chunk of Trump too. Maybe I can finish with a chunk of Trump. Is that what I should do? I've got a chunk of Trump. It includes ambassadorships that he's handing out, and I'd like to get to that. but I'd also like to get to our guest. Kim, what should I do?
I'm going to say let's go to our guest first and then wrap up the show with a chunk of Trump.
That is the right answer. Very well done. So we will proceed.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Cary Baker has been a music writer involved in music for multiple recording labels, doing PR, long career. He's written a book that's really fascinating in the subject matter alone. It's about busking. It's called Down on the Corner, Adventures in Busking and Street Music. How about it for Cary Baker?
Hello.
Look at you, Mr. Busker. Nice to have you on board. Down on the Corner is the new book. This is the American and and European street music scene that you talk about and you discuss. And what I love is that you reference its evolution during its time from the 20s, I guess, 1920s, America and Europe to today. Tell me about how this happened. It became such a vibrant part of music and performance, and even including some very big names in the world of music.
Hi, Mark. Great to be here with you today. Busking actually goes back to ancient Greece and ancient Rome. I mean, it goes back that far. The word busker is an old Latin word, buscar. It goes not only through ancient times, but through Shakespeare in the Park. Even Ben Franklin, a founding father, was also an orator, a speaker, and who knew, a musician, singer at times. So it goes. Busking goes much farther back, and there's a great book called The Buskers that was published in 1981. Of course, quite a bit has happened since 1981, but I take it back to about 1920. Blind Lemon Jefferson, Louis Armstrong, Kid Ory, Reverend Gary Davis, blues and jazz. But for me, if I may, it started when my father, I grew up in Chicago and in the suburbs, but my father took me to the inner city where he'd grown up. And I wanted to take me to a street called Maxwell Street, where you could see street singers. But that wasn't really he grew up there. It was a flea market. You could buy and sell and trade in kibbutz. And basically, it was the place to go for Eastern European Jewish immigrants. But by the time I got there, about 1972, I was maybe 16 years old. It had gone from European to being a kind of a black neighborhood, and accordingly, it's where you could have, in the late 50s, the early 50s, a little early for me, you could have seen Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, B.B. King, many others playing. But by the time I got there in 1972, you could still see artists, maybe not that legendary, but it was still kind of a thrill to me as a suburban kid to see singers on the street. And there was one in particular named Arvella Gray, who played a slide guitar, metal slide guitar, resonator, very cool. And I was just transfixed. I got his phone number. We sat and watched him for an hour. I called him up during the week and said, can I interview you? And he said, sure, I'm not doing anything. I'm a street singer. I'm free right now. So I talked to him for about an hour and sent in a unsolicited manuscript to the Chicago Reader, which had just started up, the alternative weekly, still going in Chicago, and they published it. I put a stamp on an envelope, walked it to the mailbox. Imagine that. And it was my first story as a music journalist, and my really opening of my eyes to street music.
Well, what I love is that you, and even in that explanation, reference the fact that there were these super high-profile people busking, and even though you didn't see it all, you were able to be so transfixed by it or swept up in it that, it created this work. You know what I mean? It created this. It created something in you, an interest. You realize that this is an explosive area of creativity. There's a different sense of music that is performed by a busker on the street than you find in even a small club, isn't there?
There is. Of course, a lot of buskers are also club performers or went on to become big club venue, theater, and festival performers. I talked to some like Billy Bragg, who says that he utilizes what he learned as a busker. He doesn't necessarily need a sound check. He can get that going in the first few moments of a festival appearance, and it won't hurt anybody to do that. My favorite story, I have many favorite stories in this book, of course, but one of them is, I became a journalism major. I graduated. I was a freelance writer living in a ramshackle apartment in Chicago, and I got a phone call from the punk new wave magazine, Trouser Press, in New York. Cary, is Milwaukee anywhere near Chicago? Yeah, why? Because we've heard about a band called the Violent Femmes, and they've just signed with Slash Records, home of Los Lobos and the Blasters. And by the way, they're street singers, and they play punk rock, but with folk acoustic instruments. I told them I could be there in 90 minutes, and I went up the expressway from Chicago to Milwaukee. I spoke to them outside. They gave me a little performance, and they gave me a performance outside of the theater, in which they were discovered by Chrissie Hynde and James Honeyman Scott of the Pretenders, who were busking in front of the theater that afternoon, and Chrissie Hynde was showing up for sound check, and James Honeyman Scott, and they said, "Hey, you guys are good. Why don't you open up for our real opening act?" And that was their start.
That's you're right. That's a wild story about the buskers busking in front of the legit performers, if you will, the bigger performers venue, and then actually getting drawn into the bigger performers venue to perform. Absolutely terrific. I mean, what a plan. I mean, if you'd suggested it, it would have been sort of absurd, I think, or viewed that way. Wow. Well,
it became a recurrent theme in my life. So in about 1984, I left my longtime home of Chicago and moved to Los Angeles. And, you take an obligatory Venice Boardwalk stroll when you move to Los Angeles. And, I did that every Saturday. And the first time I did, lo and behold, I hear a voice like Otis Redding. And I'm like, whoa, this is good voice. I look around, and it's this old black man with a white beard. His name is Ted Hawkins. And Ted was kind of a fixture on Venice Boardwalk for years. But the upshot is that he got discovered by a talent scout producer at Geffen Records, who is best known for maybe signing Beck. I don't think he signed Guns N' Roses, but he signed Beck and a number of other Geffen stars. And he signed Ted Hawkins. One album deal, not a lot of money, didn't sell a lot of records, but it certainly catapulted him from a street singer to a Geffen recording artist.
But he got that recording deal off of being a street singer, being a
That's
busker.
right. Well, actually, it was Michael Penn, who was Tony Berg, the Geffen employee's best friend, who happened to spot him and brought Tony down, and that's how that signing took place. While I was there, I also saw Harry Perry, who is the famous. Anyone who's ever walked Venice Boardwalk knows the description, if not the name. Harry Perry was dressed in a turban, dressed like a Sikh, and was always out there, right, with his Eddie Halen-like Target electric guitar and a pig nose amp strapped around him. There's no getting away from street music for me. I went to New Orleans many times, and of course that's famous for street music. I went to several South by Southwest festivals in Austin, and those who couldn't get legitimate showcases, official showcases, would often be seen busking on 6th Street or Guadalupe or South Congress, including somebody I devoted a chapter to named Mary Lou Lord, who's kind of an indie rock goddess. And she got that way because of her iconoclastic insistence on busking, even when she could get official showcases at South by.
I love that. I just absolutely love that. The idea that she really just enjoyed the venue or the interaction or the dynamic on some level that was being played out that way. It's funny because I know Huey Lewis was a busker, right? In I believe in Turkey or some.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So the idea somehow that you start in busking is one thing. When you're a live performer, what a great way to sort of work out your licks and see what the crowd likes and that sort of thing. But on another level, there is a dynamic there, and it's the one that captured you, that clearly other performers feel as performers, a link to the public. And you detail in your book the fact that part of the texture of performance of music is something that they feel so very wedded to.
Right. Well, and not everybody busks at the beginning of their career. I interviewed one midlife busker. He's kind of a Grammy winner now. I think he has 3 Grammy wins and some other awards. His name is Fantastic Negrito from the Oakland area. But he, obviously his real name isn't Fantastic Negrito, it's Xavier, and I won't even attempt his polysyllabic surname, which I believe is of African descent. But he signed as under the name Xavier to Interscope Records, and of course anybody who signs to Interscope is a star, right? I mean, Snoop Dogg, 9 Inch Nails, Dr. Dre. Well, Fantastic Negrito as Xavier his record just was not a hit, and he went back to Oakland without a recording contract. He opened a pot farm. He became a pot farmer, and at some point, just to keep his music going, keep the talent, he went out on the streets of Oakland and found he had been playing kind of music that was somewhere between Prince and hip hop while on Interscope. But as Fantastic Negrito, he was playing music that was somewhere between folk, blues, and rock. So he completely changed his sound, his name, his persona, and ended up succeeding at a more modest level than, say, Dr. Dre or Snoop, but not so much that he hasn't won Grammys and won critical acclaim. And he's found a whole new life busking in his 40s.
I love that your book has gotten so much play. I think NPR named Cary's book of the week.
Book of the day.
Book of the day.
Even
down
so,
on the corner, Adventures in Busking and Street Music. Down on the corner, Adventures in Busking and Street Music was Book of the Day, named such by NPR. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was amazing, and I got to do an interview on Morning Edition, which I wake up to every day.
Sure, and I think that helps sort of, I hate to say it, but establish how legit you are. And you got your Palm Springs Desert Sun to do, when I say you got, I mean, I think that profile helped them get interested in you, and they did a whole thing on you, the Palm Springs Desert Sun. I read the article. It's really great.
Ended up with page 1 of the Desert Sun. I moved 2 or 3 years ago from LA, 2 hours east to the Palm Springs area. And sure enough, the Daily Paper and some of the other papers here and in the Joshua Tree area have taken notice, which was very gratifying to me.
It's just terrific. And if you want to read about how Cary really built this body of work and interest, you can read the Desert Sun piece. It's pretty terrific. Maybe we'll link to it in our description, because I think it's kind of fun to read about it. But I'm excited that the book is doing so well for you. And I have to say that this is one of those subjects that when you see it, you think, oh my God, I'm glad somebody's telling this story, because it's something that we all are used to seeing, but I've never really read anything about it. I think whatever I know about busking, I know just based on the fact that I've seen a bunch of buskers, and that all of them have their own individual history, and then you kind of track that evolution. It's a really special thing, so congratulations.
Thanks so much.
I will link as well underneath this conversation and underneath this show. Tony, we'll link to Cary's book to Amazon. Is that the best place to buy it, or where would
Amazon, or if you prefer, the indiebookshop.org. And you can actually, if you buy it there, you can credit it to your hometown bookstore, Powell's, Book Soup, City Lights.
Oh, that's great. And that's the indie book. That's the indiebookstore.com. Is that what you said?
It's actually bookshop.org or Amazon.
Bookshop.org. We'll put Amazon and bookshop.org in, so people can get it in either place. Wish you well. Love that you were this PR guy for so long, multiple record labels, and kicking it in retirement, sort of, having given up the rat race life. And now you come up with what is clearly a work that has captured a lot of people. Down on the Corner, Adventures in Busking and Street Music. Cary Baker, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, so long.
Mark Thompson Show.
Happy holidays, everybody. Happy, happy, happy. Christmas is day after tomorrow. Hanukkah, I think, is day after tomorrow, too. It starts at night. I think that's what Rothman told us. And then Kwanzaa, I think, is already underway. Somebody can check that, maybe. Feel like we have...
I'm not up on my Kwanzaa dates.
Google it.
Yeah, well, all right. Somebody can tell us. Somebody will tell us.
Kwanzaa is celebrated in the United States December 26th through January 1st. So they start on your birthday.
It is. Starts on my birthday. Damn right. A quick note on the schedule. We are live today, despite having to run the steeplechase of technical problems. Tomorrow, we're live again. Okay, Debbie K. Johnston will be here tomorrow, for example. And it's a normal show. Then we're off on Christmas and for the rest of the week. So it'll be 25, 26, 27. You'll be on your own. All right. Merry Non-Denominational Christmas. Thank you for all you do. Long live the Mark Thompson Show, says Denny.
Nice.
Denny.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Denny. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Radcliffe One with a $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Radcliffe One.
Thank you so much.
Gordon Andrews, Blue Voter, says Vilma said it right. That was in reference to the rooting for the country. Yeah.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Happy non-denominational Christmas, Mark, Kim, Tony, and Albert. I know it's early, but it's my only chance to tell you. Thank you, Vilma. We adore you and appreciate so much that and wish you all the very best as well. Thank you, Kim and Tony and Mark. That was a great segment. I'm getting the book, says Audrey. Yeah.
Big shout out.
Go. I think it is. You're mispronouncing Chinooka, Mark. Oh, yeah, I am. Where is my actual pronunciation of Chinooka, Tony? Thought I had it. And then I've lost it in all the crap I had to do over the weekend. And
the fact we're running on all emergency settings.
Exactly.
It's a miracle it's working at all right now. That's all I got to say.
Just try ignoring it, sir.
Happy Chinooka.
Thank you very much. So far, Chinooka is not really bringing me the good luck. Happy Chinooka says...
Happy Chinooka.
Okay.
I have no idea
what Chinooka
is.
Yeah,
but Happy Chinooka.
All right, thank you.
Because they said so.
Yeah, because they said so. There you go.
So chunk of Trump or news, or what do you want to do?
Well, it's... let me look. I'm looking at this. Carry the one. Got a thing. We started late. I'm going for chunk of Trump real quick. You ready?
It's a Festivus miracle.
It is indeed. Festivus miracle. Chunk of Trump. Go.
Open wide. Ready? Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Yes, well, thank you all. That's interesting.
What happened to your audio?
Now I'm hearing echo.
You sound like you're speaking through like a reverb tunnel. That's cool.
What happened, Tony?
Hold on.
You sound like Max Headroom.
Try now.
Test.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Dude, you've got to with Albert tomorrow because we're going to you're not going to be able to.
No, what happened is I played the video and then when we came back, because technically your mic is muted in StreamYard.
I get it. I'm just saying whatever happened. Right. I don't need to.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't. You don't need to file paperwork on it. I'm just saying we need to.
Thank you for fixing
fix it. Yeah, just fix it. Exactly. All right. Chunk of Trump. Well, everybody's favorite reality producer, the man who created the image that carried Donald Trump to the presidency, the producer of The Apprentice, Mark Burnett, has been selected by Donald Trump to serve as special envoy to the United Kingdom.
What?
Yeah. He was a chair of the MGM television studio. He's a multi-Emmy winner. You know, he produced, as you are well aware, The Apprentice, which was so successful in crafting the image of Trump as a successful businessman when he actually wasn't. But Mark Burnett, before that, did Survivor and gave a network executive the idea that we could do something, was his view, with Donald Trump and the idea of The Apprentice. And as I told you, that network executive is a friend of mine who told me I didn't buy the show for Donald Trump. I thought Donald Trump was a mess, but I bought it for Mark Burnett, who I knew would put on a good TV show. And you know what? It was a good TV show. And Burnett's stuff is good. Shark Tank is one of his shows. The Voice is one of his shows. But again, The Apprentice took the bankrupt Trump and made him seem as though he was a successful billionaire. So he will now, Mark Burnett, be the special envoy.
John Watson wants to know, what the heck is the job of a special envoy?
Exactly. To the United
What does
Kingdom.
that mean?
I'm sure you got a nice crib there in UK. Burnett was born in the UK. And, quote, we'll work to enhance diplomatic relations, focusing on areas of mutual interest, including trade, investment opportunities, and cultural exchanges.
Rick says Mark Burnett will now produce The Real Survivor over the next 4 years.
That's so well put. Yeah. So that's what's happening with that appointment. But that's not the only appointment. Donald Trump also has announced Callista Gingrich will be ambassador to Switzerland, everyone. Yeah, you wanted that Swiss ambassadorship, and it goes to Callista Gingrich. What do we know about Callista Gingrich? She is the wife.
Newt?
She's the wife of Newt. Yeah, the man who started the entire dig into your political allies and continue in pitch battle against the opposition kind of strategy. That was Newt Gingrich who did that. Google it. It's a wildly disturbing fact that Newt Gingrich really is behind the kind of hyper-partisanship that is destroying America. And now his wife will be the ambassador to Switzerland. So, nice to see the former president and now president-elect getting his appointments on.
Does that mean
finally?
Does that mean Newt Gingrich has to live in Switzerland for 4 years?
No. It's a back and forth thing. I'm sure Newt is happy to have another residence. It's a pretty nice life, the life of an ambassador.
Yeah.
Especially an ambassador to Switzerland. And that'll be a beautiful place that they'll have there, and they'll be able to travel on the taxpayer dime. God, being married to Newt Gingrich, I'll bet she's glad to go there, says John. She may love her Newt, Meanwhile, Trump has hinted that he still wants to buy Greenland. Again, that's a self-ruling territory of Denmark, Greenland. But he's saying that the U.S. ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity for national security. Trump made this statement on Sunday as he nominated PayPal co-founder Ken Howry for U.S. ambassador to the Kingdom of Denmark. So I wonder if one of the first tasks that the ambassador to Denmark, Ken Howry, will be given will be somehow to wrest Greenland from control by Denmark and somehow get it back to the U.S. of A., where we can turn it into something that's really, really Trumpian. That, my friends, is your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
And the last thing I will mention to you, just because I feel as though it's worth noting, is that the Supreme Court, it would seem, was in receipt of, certain members were in receipt of trips and lavish gifts that were, surprise, never disclosed, everyone. Yeah, never disclosed. Why disclose them if you don't have to? It's so embarrassing to have to disclose that you've been on these huge vacations that are likely an ethical breach of some kind. Justice Clarence Thomas, my favorite.
I come from regular stock.
When it comes to ethical breaches, he is my favorite. Justice Clarence Thomas failing to disclose 2 additional trips from a billionaire patron, and the 20-month investigation into ethics practices at the Supreme Court has now been concluded, and among the things that that ethics investigation has revealed is that Clarence Thomas is taking these trips and living it up with his favorite liver-upper, Harlan Crow, everyone. He is the real estate magnate in Texas and a frequent patron of Justice Thomas, as you recall. It was Harlan Crow who bought the domicile of Clarence Thomas's mom. It's Harlan Crow who bought that huge RV/party bus for Clarence Thomas.
I come from regular stock.
Yeah, and when you come from regular stock, it's nice to get a couple of gifts now and then. Am I right?
Question, don't you think it would have been better to just release all of this at the same time? Because now, I mean, it seems like every month or so, we find out about another trip and more payoffs, alleged, that Clarence Thomas has taken. So, I mean, it just doesn't, from a PR perspective, it seems like it would have behooved him more to just say it all at one time.
I don't disagree. Behoove, I will ding. I think that the idea that there's a sort of PR aspect to this and there's a reputational damage aspect to this, and then there's a legal aspect or / ethical aspect to this, that's sort of interesting because you're probably right. Kim may be right. Like if you just dumped it all at once, it would be like, okay, shock therapy, it's done. There's no more. But this drip, drip, drip thing is probably not the most helpful. However, on another level, none of it matters because these people are truly beyond any kind of ability on the part of the U.S. government or for the American citizenry, which I think is crippled largely under a lot of their judgments. I mean, I'll talk about just the rollback of Roe. Crippled to do anything. You cannot actually reach out and even reprimand any of these justices. So again, these private jet trips that are revealed in 800 pages of documents, 2 trips, for example, in the case of Clarence Thomas, both of which have been previously unknown to the public. They went down in 2021, provided by Harlan Crow. 1 trip took place by private jet from Nebraska to Saranac, New York, where Justice Thomas stayed at the Crow retreat there for 5 days. The other in October, when Crow hosted Thomas overnight in New York on his yacht after flying Thomas in from the District of Columbia to New Jersey for the dedication of a statue. The disclosures were one of the few new revelations in this report that generally summarized information about the largesse that has been accepted by justices. Largesse is a ding word. I also point to Judge Alito also taking trips like that. That's right. Not mentioned as prominently in the past, but there are trips that trace back to Justice Alito with a private jet travel provided by a billionaire hedge fund manager. This is to a fishing trip in a remote part of Alaska. Alito had not disclosed that trip, later said he was not required to by the rules as they were then existing. Leonard Leo, who is, of course, the architect of the Federalist Society that populates all of these courts with conservative justices, he's refused to comply with subpoenas from the Congress and the congressional investigation and saying it was unlawful and politically motivated. I will not participate. For most of its history, the Supreme Court has had no formal ethics code, unlike lower court justices, and they've resisted pressure to adopt one. For constitutional reasons, it is difficult to impose any enforceable rules on the justices. This is what I was saying. They have life tenure, answer only to themselves on ethical matters, Even the question of recusal, as you know, is one that there is no vote on. It is completely up to them. So Clarence Thomas doesn't have to recuse himself from a case that involves his wife. That was the J6 case. The death of Justice Antonin Scalia in 2016 during a free stay at a Texas businessman's hunting lodge brought attention to more than 250 privately funded trips that he'd accepted over a 10-year period, many to luxurious destinations. Scalia drenched in the private air travel and these luxurious trips to exotic destinations. The reality is we have a court that has run amok, and we have a court that answers to no one. And I wanted to quickly mention it before we got into a turbo newscast. So that, my friends, is the story at the High Court.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, it is late. You may not want to do a newscast. You may want to, but feel that the degree to which you're compelled to do your own show, which is the After Hours Live show, you may feel like that is a bigger imperative. And
we'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I don't know whether you feel as though you're more drawn to that or if you'll do a turbo newscast. I'm here.
I think we should do news. Let's do it.
I love that. We'll do some news. Smash the like button like a boss.
With your iron rod.
It costs you nothing to smash the like button. Please subscribe, share the show, all that stuff. Thank you for being here. Kim's News, and we'll wrap up. I'm looking forward to it. You can look forward to it. Feel good. It is the holidays. Let's get it going. Come on, everybody.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. As Mark mentioned earlier in the show, a House ethics report says Matt Gaetz paid for sex with a minor. The House Ethics Committee released a report today after initially voting not to, following Gaetz's resignation from Congress. The probe into Gaetz by the House Ethics Committee found evidence of him paying thousands of dollars for illegal drugs and sex with a number of women, including a 17-year-old junior in high school.
That's his wife there in that picture, the two of them.
She must be so proud. Yeah.
She probably, how do you think it's being handled in the House?
You paid how much for what?
He's going to say what? He's going to say, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It was embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it. Well, he wasn't married at the time, was he? Or was he?
I don't think so. What he says in his, response to all of the report details, I was pretty crazy in my single years. So.
Oh, I see. So there you go. Yeah.
Google it.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. The man accused in the United Healthcare CEO killing is pleading not guilty to state charges in New York. Luigi Mangione appearing in state court this morning after appearing in federal court Thursday to face charges of murder, stalking, and a firearms offense in the killing of Brian Thompson. Mangione is accused of fatally shooting Thompson in front of his Manhattan hotel on December 4th. And again, he says he is not guilty.
I got an email. Let me should I find the email if I can real quick? I got an angry email about Luigi Mangione. Yeah. Can I read it to you real quickly?
Sure, go ahead.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
This is not a positive letter.
You're taking the turbo out of the turbo newscast. I'll just tell you that.
Do you want me to, I can wait. It can wait till tomorrow.
No, let's go ahead. Go ahead. You're searching. Are you searching?
I'm getting it now. And
let me read this story while you look.
Yes, please.
The White House is launching a probe into China's semiconductor industry. The Biden administration has been taking action against Chinese technology over national security and trade concerns. So I put the story in so that you remember the Biden administration is the one that launched this investigation into China's semiconductor industry and their dealings with America on that, because I'm sure we'll hear a lot about that in the Trump administration as well. Did you find it?
No, I did not. So continue.
Okay. Amazon and Starbucks.
No, I lost Kim. Is Kim being heard, Tony? Do you hear her?
Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Amazon and Starbucks union workers on strike ahead of the holidays. Starbucks union workers are striking in several cities with a pledge to keep the...
Is she fading out? Is it just my thing, or is she fading a little bit? What's happening, Tony? Tony, thought? Do you hear Kim?
Thanks, Tony.
No, I don't hear Tony at all now either. So, okay.
Can you hear me?
Ooh, there you go. You can hear me now.
Oh, God,
Can we hear everybody?
Nobody can.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
Hell? Jesus. Okay, good. Yeah.
Amazon Teamster drivers are protesting at Amazon delivery stations in Chicago, Atlanta, New York, San Francisco, in Southern California. So there you go. Amazon is unfair, says the sign. President Biden's decision to commute more than 36 federal death sentences is being criticized by Republicans. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton says Democrats are siding with criminals over victims and common decency. The inmates are getting their sentences reclassified to life without the possibility of parole. Aw, so sad. Laura Trump is withdrawing her name from consideration to be Florida's next senator.
Yeah,
Come on, Laura.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, the president-elect Trump's daughter-in-law made a social media post saying she made the decision after an incredible amount of thought, contemplation, and encouragement. The move ends the speculation that she's interested in replacing Republican Senator Marco Rubio, who will now be serving as the Secretary of State in the incoming administration. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano is erupting on the Big Island again. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory says this eruption began overnight early Monday. Kilauea's volcano alert system went up to the highest warning levels within the area of Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. So look at it. Ooh, it's really going.
That's really intense.
Yeah.
Good
video.
You've flown over it before, right?
I have actually walked very close. I walked so close to the lava that you could feel the warmth on the back of my legs.
Oh my God.
There were when we went on our honeymoon to the Big Island, you could walk amongst the lava that was glowing in the dark. It was super unsafe. I don't think they let you do it anymore. But there were people with spoons and utensils scooping up bits of lava, twirling them on a fork, letting them dry, and then selling them to tourists.
That's crazy.
It was really crazy. Yeah. It's interesting because it doesn't look like much during the day. Well, not when it's erupting so furiously like now. I'm sure it looks like wild during the day, but you really see it at dusk when the sun goes down and the whole hillside starts glowing. Really interesting.
Yeah, I remember flying. I would never do this now. Flying over the volcano and the helicopters hovering there, and you can feel the heat in the helicopter. It's really intense. It was like, wow, I just don't think this is
maybe not such a good idea.
Right. Like, I don't want to tempt fate like this, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and walking back down the mountain with the rocks sliding all over the place in the dark. Oh no, never again. Nissan and Honda could soon be merging. The Japanese automakers announcing today they will hold talks over the next 6 months about a possible merger. If the two companies merge, it would create the world's third biggest automaker, trailing only Toyota and Volkswagen in sales. Officials with the California High-Speed Rail Authority would like to put in one more request for money before President-elect Trump is inaugurated. They're asking the Biden administration to approve more than $500 million for what they say are essential operating costs. Elon Musk, who is the head of Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, has called the project a massive waste of taxpayer money. California voters approved $10 billion in bonds for the project in 2008. It was projected to cost $33 billion to complete the line between Los Angeles and San Francisco by 2020. Today, it's estimated it may take $128 billion to complete a segment between Bakersfield and Merced, no sooner than 2030.
I mean, it's just so sad. It really is, because, and no one wants to say this, but it is a good idea to have high-speed rail running from the southern part of the state to the northern part of the state, just as it is a good idea to have high-speed rail running from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. I mean, this is the way advanced societies move people efficiently and environmentally with a sense of an environmental kind of sound policy. In other words, it's just easier to on the environment to move people, large numbers of people, this way rather than by car. But the reality is, this has turned into a situation that is ripe with the allegations of corruption and poor planning. And now I just don't know what it is. I mean, it's, you know, we've gotten a little bit pregnant with this thing. You cannot undo it, right? I mean, so how do you unravel it? You can't. And then how do you continue to ravel it? I guess by pouring more money onto the fire. I mean, we are burning up insane amounts of money. This is one of the great embarrassments, I think, of California's political history is what's happened here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know how you stop it either, but wow. There's the map, the high-speed rail map by segment.
Yeah, with a status by segment. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, we're going to get from Merced to what? Merced to Bakersfield by 2030.
That's under construction. Yeah.
For $128 billion. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a new report that shows the rumors of California's great exodus are exaggerated. New figures from the U.S. Census Bureau show California's population actually rose by 0.6% from July 1st of last year to this year, July 1st. It's an addition of about 250,000 residents to California. The number of residents in California now close to pre-pandemic levels. So apparently we're all back and raring to go. There's this popular restaurant in Concord, the city of Concord in the Bay Area, that dealt with a ladies' night discrimination lawsuit, and now it has to close its doors for good. The owners of Lima say they have to shut down December 31st. The owners say they've never been able to fully recover from having to pay a settlement in a discrimination lawsuit brought against them for discounting drinks for women only during a ladies' night event. Regulars are furious over what they call a frivolous lawsuit taking down their favorite restaurant.
That is insane. I cannot believe that. So somebody had to file a suit, and it was successful enough to close the place, right?
You can't give a discount to the ladies and not the gentlemen, right?
Well,
that's what they did.
At clubs, women regularly get in free. You hear it all the time. Ladies get in free. You know what I mean? That's always the way it is. I mean,
discriminatory. No can do.
Women get a better shake on things because guys will always show up if there are women there. I mean, again, this is in, you know, most places. So, wow, that's extraordinary.
It is officially gifting season. Apparently, young adults are doing more shopping for themselves. That is not what we're supposed to do. It's about the season of being generous, right?
Right.
Almost half of Gen Z and millennials are purchasing their own gifts this holiday season, according to consulting firm Deloitte. The most popular seasonal splurges include clothing, accessories, electronics, travel, live events, health, and wellness. Gen Z and millennials are expected to be the drivers in a holiday sales surge this year, with Gen Z's holiday budget rising 37% and millennials' budget rising 16%. Other influences of the self-gifting trend, social media influencer, and self-care marketing. And lastly, because this is one of the biggest travel days of the year and the airports are hopping, I will say the Transportation Security Administration is announcing the discovery of nearly 90 forbidden items inside of a woman's carry-on bag at Los Angeles International Airport.
Wow.
What? The items were found during a routine x-ray screening. Did you think they weren't going to look? The bag was found December 15th. The TSA says this lady was trying to fly from Los Angeles to Philadelphia with 82 consumer-grade fireworks, 3 knives, 2 replica guns, and a canister of pepper spray, and a partridge in a pear tree. None of those items are allowed in carry-on luggage, clearly. A bomb squad was called in to confiscate the fireworks. Airport police confirmed the woman was interviewed. It's unclear if she was arrested. I would be surprised if she wasn't. Look at that. Can you imagine?
That is insane. The movie Carry On Netflix, says Modirect, and Modirect is right. The movie Carry On Netflix, we watched it last night, and it's really good.
I loved it too, yeah.
Michael Snyder recommended he thinks that it will replace Die Hard, or he's up there with Die Hard as your Christmas action movie.
Sure.
And I think it's pretty damn good. You saw it, Tony?
No, come on, Die Hard. I don't care. Die Hard is such a good movie.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I'm going to be automatically contrarian on this and go, no.
Exactly.
But it is good. It is good.
Yeah. I mean, look at the other one before you weigh back in, Tony, please. But before you do anything, fix this goddamn show so I don't have this problem tomorrow. Okay. With the
this
technical
report is
thing.
Sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
There it is. Carry on. Yeah.
Carry on. It was a good movie.
No,
this report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Hopefully it'll make all Mark's stress go away. Ooh. Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This is the We Could Try Ignoring It, Sir mug, which I like to do. I like to try to ignore the bad stuff and just bring in the good stuff. Sometimes you can't ignore the bad stuff. The only reason I would watch Die Hard is Alan Rickman, says Karen.
Yeah.
That's a very good reason.
That's true. Alan Rickman was the greatest. Mr. McClane. You're such a pest, Mr. McClane.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, all organic and from women-owned farms. Our people at Coachella Valley Coffee make the very best coffee, the very best tea. It's a boutique roastery, and you'll find boutique things there. Truly, you will upgrade your coffee and tea game if you go to CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And I love that. Oh, you've got it. The Colombia. Oh, that's what I'm drinking today. Man, it is delicious. It's riquísimo. It's big, rich, bold. And if you like that, you'll just adore this. Just terrific. Use the discount code MARKT for 10% off, and you'll enjoy it even more. Once again, it is CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. MARKT at checkout for 10% off. Mm-hmm.
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Girl, you just woo.
Hey, Mark. It's George Santos here. A lot of people are telling me you're a liar.
That's pure speculation.
What's a little lie between friends?
Morning.
We're in better shape, but I don't think we're in wildly better shape.
Master,
You want to class for recess?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Good day, sir.
Seriously, what the
Why are you yelling?
I'm into it. I'll tell you, I'm into it. We started late. It was a crazy start to things where we were missing audio. That's why we kind of came on the show late. But everybody has made it through. Thank you very much for all the ways you support our show. I'm just looking quickly to see if there's anything else I want to quickly get to Karen Cooper. We had no idea about the volcano, and we live about 35 miles away. Thank you, Kim. More remarkable journalistic work done by Kim. Yeah, nice job. Karen Cooper, $1 for every year. Happy birthday, Mark. Thank you, Karen. My birthday. It's a day after Jesus's. It's the day after Christmas. And thank you for recognizing it. Appreciate that. We'll be dark that day. We'll be off the air. Let me just ask Mr. Predicto. Mr. Predicto, will I have a happy birthday? It's a very troubled time. Mr. Predicto, will my birthday, the day after Christmas, will it be a happy one? Yes or no?
Now is not the right time to tell you.
Oh, my God. Kim, I knew it. I have a bad feeling about this week.
Okay. We can ask again tomorrow. It's going to be all right.
All right. Okay.
As Fetterman says, chill out, man.
Yes.
Pack a lunch.
Ron Cook says Gaetz reported spending $66,000 on hookers. That's putting in some work. Romania Animal Rescue Inc. Happy early birthday, Mark, from Rory and Nancy at Romania Animal Rescue Inc. What up, guys? Thank you. Big shout out to Mania Animal Rescue Inc. Thank you for the work you do, and thank you for the support of the show. It was my birthday. Wait a minute, Jay. It's my birthday, Jay says, and all I wanted was the Matt Gaetz Report. You got it. You got a really nice report, Jay. Happy birthday. You got, it was hookers and cocaine and wild, decadent parties. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, Happy non-D holidays, everyone. Happy birthdays, Mark and Courtney. Take care all. Ren, wow, Ren, thank you so much.
Thank you so
That
so
pretty
much.
much does include and offer up greetings to everyone. And if it is your birthday or your December birthday, I know I share your pain, the struggle. Overshadowed by a savior. I get it. I mean, I know what that's like. Everybody wants to celebrate the Savior's birthday. How about leaving a little celebration for some of us other people? That's all I'm saying. We've had a very fun show, despite the fact that Tony's had to have duct tape around this wire, and this setting has to be set that way, and he's got
just
to
a lot of praying.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Tony, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, we got
Tony's off for the holidays, but hopefully he'll have time to...
Oh, I'm working tomorrow, just not here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. I don't know about your other work, Tony. I can't be concerned. All right.
Jesus, I have to work for Jesus tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow, David K. Johnston joins us.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. We're out of time. Till tomorrow, bye-bye.